Welcome to the Nerd Cave discussion. I am one of your hosts, Zach Dykes, joined along with the man that is always right, Trey Price. How you doing, Trey?
I am doing fantastic. I feel like I'm a sarlacc that just swallowed a bomb.
Mm,
Yeah,
you need some
that's
Tums.
foreshadowing.
Mm-hmm. This episode was great.
I agree.
This episode was great. But this episode of Nerd Cave discussion is brought to you by Epic Games and Patreon. You love video games and supporting the Nerd Cave at no added cost? Any purchase in the Epic Games Store or for Fortnite and Rocket League on any device is eligible to use our Epic Creator Code. Use NERDCAVE at checkout to support us with each and every purchase on the Epic Games Store. You can also become part of the ship, part of the exclusive crew by going to patreon.com/nerdcave, just like our wonderful crew members. The first mate, Brandon Hicks, our helmsman, the conductor, our gunners, Richard Newell, Daniel Sanford, Rushing Waters Yoga, the Marilyn James, Martin Sager, Brittany, the Granny B. Harrison.
Woo!
This is the Nerd Cave discussions where we discuss each and I messed that all up, but here we go again. It's all messed up in the doc, so whatever. We'll do it live. This is the Nerd Cave discussion where we discuss the latest and greatest of movies and television that you need to know. You can watch us live over on twitch.tv/nerdcave network, or you can watch the show later on youtube.com/nerdcave network. Make sure to hit the follow and subscribe button so you don't miss out on anything, and like it so people will see the video. In this episode, we see Fennec Shan has an iron gut, and chopping salads is a dangerous line of work. This episode's name is Streets of Mos Espa. What were you going to say, Trey?
I was going to say I cannot wait to talk about that droid, but anyway.
Yeah, me too. Me too. Me too. So as we get into this, Marilyn puts a poignant point in here. Flashbacks finally come full circle, meaning Fennec. Boom.
Yeah,
that's a great point. So spoiler free portion. It was good. You need to go watch the episode. Now we're getting into spoiler territory. Trey, what did you think about the episode?
Redeemed last week.
Yeah.
I mean, just from the statistic points of view, it was about an hour long, so you felt like you got a full-on episode. It didn't have nonsense. Like, thank God there was not another swoop bike chase, the world's slowest swoop bike chase ever. Yeah. And all of those different kinds of things. And as it was pointed out in the chat already, some things started connecting from Mandalorian stuff. So it feels like it's all starting to come together, which is good because they've only got about 2 or 3 more episodes left. So it's like, come on. Yeah. And so it was great. I really, really enjoyed this week's episode.
Yeah, I agree 100% with you. It finally felt like we were like, okay, now we're on the right track. Last week was an important but very weird and underwhelming episode for me personally. I know we talked in depth about it, and everyone can go and watch the show.
Allie and I were having a conversation about why last week wasn't that good.
Where do I? So my sister-in-law Allie said, plus I don't get why last week gets so much hate. I generally enjoyed it, but when I tell you I absolutely lost my mind when Den's theme started playing. This is from between Amy and Allie. I think it's the chase scene. Yeah, that's fair. My take on it is that the OG trilogy, despite only one of them coming out during the 70s, is built heavily on the 70s aesthetic. And we know that movies taking place around that time, like Rogue One, Mandalorian, and also Boba Fett, are also holding true to that, where it's keeping the older things in the 70s style to help them keep the same feeling. But then you introduce this group who is in from the next generation. So, how do you separate them? Give them an 80s cyberpunk aesthetic. I think it's super fun and a good way to show that the times are changing and to further create the divide in generation. Also, my theory, and I'm not going to get into the theory yet because that's
Okay.
getting ahead of it.
That's a good point, though.
It's a good point. My biggest qualms about the speeder bike Power Ranger group. Okay, and I know a lot of people do not like the speeder bike Power Ranger group, and my biggest thing is it did not feel like Star Wars.
No,
Like, it
no,
didn't
I
feel
agree.
like Star Wars. It does. Okay, if it was on Coruscant, and I made this point last week, it would feel fine. It
Mhm.
does not feel like they belong on
On
Tatooine.
Tatooine.
That's my biggest thing. You got these people that are scrounging for water, scrounging to survive, and they're like, you know what I'm going to do with my money? I'm gonna make
Yeah,
myself a robot. You know
yeah.
what I mean? Like, it just
And I'm gonna have the nicest, flashiest hover bike around. Like,
exactly. And
what?
then we're gonna go steal water because we can't afford it. I'm like, it's a little strange, but I
That's
digress. I
that's when
digress.
the rule of the streets of Mos Espa kicks in, and those kids die because they don't know how to prioritize,
Yeah,
basic needs.
yeah, 100%. But I think Allie made a good point though, because it's not the
Mhm.
Star Wars aesthetic we're used to. Yeah, it's not the Star Wars aesthetic, and it's also kind of a um a hint back to George Lucas's American Graffiti, where it was like you know the drag race cars and all this kind of stuff, and also like the mods from over in Britain and everything, because people would drive those kind of bikes and all that.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but neither here nor there, because thank the good Lord, this episode had none of that
Mhm.
hogwash and gully swaggle. I made that last one up.
It's a good one. You should
It's a
write
good
that
one.
down.
Gully swaggle.
Gully swaggle.
This episode brought the flashback all the way around. It was so well done how they tied in the episode The Gunslinger of Mandalorian season 1, I think it was episode 5, in with where Boba Fett was.
Mhm.
Like the whole like popping the flares to like blind Fennec Shand and all of that.
Mhm.
Like it was just, like he was just like, what's going on? And then like goes to go check it out and everything. And then we find Fennec Shand,
Yeah.
and it's like it goes with like what we saw in that
Mhm.
episode, the very end, the post, like a little
Yeah.
teaser and everything.
Mhm.
And then his relationship with her, how it all started. Like I had been wondering that since season 2. What did you think about all this first part?
It definitely brought me back to that exact episode of The Mandalorian where they're trying to fight her and kill her and all that kind of stuff,
Mhm.
and they shoot up the flares, and I'm like, oh, that's super smart. But you just told everyone in like a 10-mile radius where you were, and you're out in the middle of the dunes of Tatooine.
Yeah.
That wasn't smart.
Yeah.
In the long, it helped, but that also makes sense. That's why the Mando was like, "All right, get your crap. We need to get out of here. Like,
Yeah,
we
yeah.
need to go now."
Yeah.
So, but sure enough, the person that saw it was Boba Fett, and I'm
Mhm.
right there with you about developing the relationship with her, because whenever she shows back up in Mandalorian and is like, "I'm with Boba Fett now," I'm like, "Why?"
Yeah.
Like, really, why? You're bounty hunters. You don't have alliances. What are you doing? And then so you get to see a little bit of that. She wasn't just, hurt and he brought her back. He, like, scooped her up. One, recognized her. Like,
Yeah.
Game recognized Game. He was
Mhm.
like, that's Fennec Shand.
Yeah.
She's no joke. So he scoops her up, takes her to the modifier guy, which is built like this really weird 90s tattoo parlor. It's like
Yeah.
no walk-ins, and you're like, whoa, calm down.
Yeah.
And then Boba just like throws the coin down and pays a lot of money that he could have used to
Mhm.
save her life. So it makes sense now why she was like, I owe you my life. I'm going to help you do what you need to do.
Yeah.
And then she's just sort of like, Game recognized Game. I'm going to roll with you until I don't want to anymore. And he's like, all right, fine.
Yeah. Yeah. And Amy makes a great point here, is that she liked him wanting to get out from other people's thumbs,
Mm-hmm.
like not wanting to work for people that are going to get them killed. He's
Yeah.
wanting to start his own house and everything. And the whole sequence of Boba and Finnick trying to get the slave one out of Jabba's palace
Oh
was
man, I loved
so
it.
good. Was so good.
Loved it.
Her little blowtorch thing. I was watching an Easter egg thing on Star Wars Theory. It makes the same sound as when Dooku gets his head cut off in Episode 3.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
I was like, man, that's very specific sound. Why would you bring that one back?
Yeah, but
And
yeah, I love.
the little droid, like it was like Darth
Oh
Maul
yeah.
in Episode 1.
Yeah, that thing was really cool. I was like, but she's not like looking through its eyes. But no, it just goes, maps the whole place out, comes back, and then they're like, oh, now we have a holo map of the entire interior. I'm like, dude, that thing is cool.
Yeah.
Like,
it reminded me
like-
a lot of Fallen Order, how the map would, like, as you would go, it would like fill out, and it was like that hologram kind of thing. It was
Yeah,
really cool
yeah.
looking.
yeah, I didn't piece that together, but you're right. It's very Fallen Order. And I love that whole go get slave one out of the palace, because it felt like they were being bounty hunters again.
Hmm.
Like they're going through there and they're doing their job well.
Yeah.
It's not like that clumsy street brawl we talked about in episode 1 or 2, where it's just like, oh no, I hope we survive. They're going through and they're like, pew, 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 and like they're like sneaking and doing all this stuff. I'm like, we got like, no, you probably the only person that remembers this game, but the bounty hunter game from back in the day, that's what it felt like. Like you're trying to actually be a bounty hunter, and I was like, I'm loving it, particularly when we sneak into the kitchen.
Yep. So we get into the kitchen and we're introduced to 2 droids, and they think there's a rat that is going around, and they call for the rat catcher. And then one goes to find, see what's going on. And they're like, oh, I don't think it's a rat. And then what happens next is the coolest nod to General Grievous that I think I've seen in a very long time, where the salad chopper droid, like, comes out with all the blades and then starts doing all of this, and I'm just like, yes, this is great.
Online they're calling him Chef Grievous.
I love it. I want a Chef Grievous. I want one of those just to put in the kitchen, take care of all the chopping, just
But also they did it as sort of like a little nod and a joke. Then Finnick comes up and just like slits his droid throat, and he's like, oh no, and he's just done.
Yeah. And then
it was so great.
We get like this like weird like cat and mouse game of where the mouse catcher droid becomes the mouse, and then Boba is the cat, which I thought was, pretty funny comedic timing.
Yeah. Literally chasing him around the kitchen, knocking crap off like it's Tom and Jerry. Like, and I'm like, you have one of the best aims in all the galaxy. Shoot it!
Well, it's like not wanting to cause the ruckus or whatever. But then when he catches it, like the droid is so scared that it literally shuts itself off. I'm like, that's great. And then we get a really cool action sequence of them going into the hangar and getting the slave one. And Fennec Shan, my lord, that lady has got an aim on her. Like, she didn't miss a shot. You know what I mean? Like, she didn't miss a shot.
Ammo.
No,
none of that.
The First Order needs to bring her in and get her to train those stormtroopers.
Literally everybody else. From now on, if anyone asks me who shot first, I'm like, Fennec Shan did. She obviously just shot first because she's so good.
Yeah, it's like no wonder they had to blind her on the sands of Tatooine. It's like if she would have got a shot off.
Yes, like they were done.
They were done.
God.
Amy says that girl is on fire. Or I'll do the song. That girl is on fire. Girl on fire. Dane. Dan says, I found
Dang.
it was I found it wasn't very sneaky when he told the droid his name before he shut it off. Yeah, I agree. He's like, do you know who I am? I'm Boba Fett. It's like, okay. It's like, okay.
But the droid knew. The droid was like, no, screw that.
He's like, nope, not today, man. Throw me in the garbage can. Like, somebody will turn me back on. Amy was very impressed with your dancing, by the way.
I mean, somebody has to keep Adele looking good. I know that song was not Adele, but Adele's